Hey small group leaders, I am so excited that you have decided to be a small group leader at KidFest. And if you missed a training last night, I have everything you need to know right here. So you might be thinking, I don't even know what a small group leader is. Well, I'm going to tell you how to be a great one. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So a small group leader is someone who is intentional about investing in a few kids. Is super intentional about knowing them and loving them. So here's how it's going to work. At KidFest at 5:45, the doors are going to open, kids are going to come streaming in, and there, with your age group, you're going to have 4 adult leaders. So as your kids are coming in, you're going to get to know them. You're going to decide how you want to divide them into groups. That's what you guys will do on the first night. So you'll divide your kids into groups, and then you will those groups of 5 or 6, 4 or 5, 6 kids, that's going to be your kids for the week. And you'll have a little attendance card in your name tag, and you'll write your kids' names down, and that's where you'll keep track of who's there each night. And when those kids enter the gym each night, you are on. You're completely present. You're not on your phone. You're not talking to the other leaders. You're talking to your kids. You're getting to know them. You're going to know their name. You're going to know everything about them. You're going to know their favorite things. You are going to know what they're doing the next day, so when they come the next night and say, hey, how was your grandma's house? Because you knew that they went there for lunch that day. So it's just really a great opportunity to show them that God cares about them, God knows about them, God remembers about them. And so it's just a really exciting way to show kids that they belong and that we love them. And so as a small group leader, I challenge you to be present, to love and invest in your kids by getting to know them. So during dinner at KidFest, you're completely on. Your job is to stay right there with your kids. Your job is to love them and to take care of them, to talk to them. Now, if they need drink or food, please don't leave the table to go get those things unless absolutely necessary. We will have kitchen volunteers walking around that can help you replenish those plates and cups, because during that dinner time, this is a community building, relationship building time. It's a chance for you to connect those kids to friends, to one another. It's a chance for you to get to know them. And so avoid leaving the table. Stick with your kids the whole time. And as a small group leader, one of your tasks is to create a safe place. You want your kids to know that they are always safe. They're always taken care of. You know where they're at all times. And so I'm really excited for you guys to do that with them at KidFest. And also, another way to be a great small group leader, besides being present and creating a safe place, is to make it personal. Don't be afraid to share with the kids things that you're struggling with, things that you've learned about God. Just keep it G-rated and only tell them things that are appropriate for their age. And so, like I said, at dinner, you're 100% on. You're right there with the kids. You're loving them. You're getting to know them. You're connecting them with buddies. The first night, you're dividing them into small groups. And if you miss the training, your co-leaders in that grade will have more information on the best way to do that. We want to make sure that it's split pretty evenly as we can. Ideally, we'd have all girls together and all boys together with a male leader and all girls together with a female leader. But we don't know how many kids are coming, and so that may not be possible. And sometimes we may have mixed groups. So we may have groups of boys and girls. And it's really important to keep friends together. So if you have a group of 6 kids who don't want to be split up, but then you have another group of 3, that's okay. Have a group of 6 and have a group of 3. It's not a big deal. We want kids to feel like they belong, and so that means that they need to be with their friends, with their community. And also, if you have say a boy and a girl cousin who are both in 1st grade and they come in together and they want to be in the same group, let them be in the same group. It's not necessary to split them up. So you guys can just decide on that first night what's the best way to split them up. And so after dinner, that first night dinner, you know who your group is. You write them on your little attendance card that's inside your name tag. And then at 6:15, the song Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas will play, and it's time to move to the chapel for opening. And so, here's how moving works at KidFest. When you move to a new place at KidFest as a small group leader, you're going to go with your whole grade. So all 4 leaders, all of the 2nd graders, for example, will all move together, but when you move, you are responsible for your few, the kids in your group. So say that you guys divided up, you had 20 kids between 4 leaders, you each have 5 kids. When you're moving, those are your 5 kids. You're responsible for making sure that your 5 kids get from point A to point B. So when you're walking, you're talking to them, you're talking about Legos or Big Hero 6 or princesses, whatever they're into. And when you get to the chapel, you're counting, going 1, 2, 3, 4, got them, because you're keeping up with your 5 kids. And that's a really important thing that we're doing new, is small group leaders are going to be keeping up with their kids. A great way to show kids that God cares about their safety and God knows where they're at all times. And then when it's time to go in the chapel, there will be a tunnel of people high-fiving. So I want you guys to be energetic and excited, because the kids are going to do what you do. If you are not into it, if you have your arms crossed, they are not going to be into it either. And so as you guys enter that chapel, I want you excited, loud, cheering them on. And when you get in the chapel, you will have you will go ahead and sit in your correct pew. And inside your small group leader bag, there is a chapel seating chart. And so when you guys get to Kid Fest, you're going to go to the coffee shop. You're going to get your name tag. You're going to get your team flag and your team small group leader bag. There's one bag per 4 small group leaders, so only one person will need to keep up with that. And in that bag is a chapel seating chart, and it shows you where the 2nd graders or the 4th graders, whatever grade you are, where they sit. And there will also be volunteers there to help you find the right seat. And if we need to adjust the pews, if we have too many children in one grade, then we will do that. Now, here's a little tricky thing that some people might shy away from, but it's really important. When you get in the chapel and you know which pew you're supposed to sit in, your group, I need you to sit in the pew with your kids. So I need you to be able to get your hands on all of your children at one time. So, in a ministry safe way, of course. So that during the chapel, if one of your kids is kicking the pew in front of them and distracting everyone, you are close enough that you can just reach over and push that leg down. And you just solved a huge behavior issue with no talking because you were able to touch them. You were able to solve that problem with no noise. So it's really important that you are sitting in the pew with your kids, not just on the outside of the pew, but mixed in. And you might be thinking, well, the kids behind me can't see. That's okay, because kids are smart. If they can't see, they will move so that they can see, and the other leaders know that they need to sit in the pews too, so they're going to adjust their groups so everyone can see. That's really important, to sit in the pew with your kids. So you're in the opening and your kids start doing something they shouldn't do. Well, how do you handle a behavior problem when everyone's quiet and someone's talking up front? Well, one of my favorite tricks is if you're sitting in the pew with your kids and there's a kid maybe 2 kids down from where you're sitting who's misbehaving, if you will just scoot over and sit next to that kid, scoot over those kids that are next to you, let them scoot down and sit next to that kid who's misbehaving. You just put your arm on the pew behind him, and you kind of look at him, show them with your eyes that that's not the right thing to do. They will straighten up for the most part because the teacher's sitting next to them and now they have to behave. So it's really important that you do your very best to handle those behavior problems as quickly and quietly as you can, and that's one of the benefits of sitting in the pew with your kids. Now, if you've never been to Kid Fest, you might not know this, but during the opening we have worship, and it's fun, and it's live, and it's jumping, and it's crazy, and I need you guys to do that. If you guys don't dance, if you don't sing, your kids won't either. And this isn't just dancing and jumping and being silly. This is worshiping God. And so you get to show them how to worship God. As you know, here at Spring Road, our kids don't go down to the worship service during church. They're upstairs in Kingdom Kids. And so they never see adults worshiping in the worship service. So the only example they have of how to worship God is the adults that they see in Kingdom Kids and at Kid Fest. So you've got to set an example for them. You've got to model for them how to worship God. And even if it's not the most comfortable way that you like to worship God, it is most definitely a great way to worship God. And so I really encourage you to dance. If you're dancing and singing, they're going to dance and sing. And even if your kids aren't doing it, they see you doing it, they're watching and they're learning. And also, don't force a child to dance, because we don't want them to ever think that God's going to make them do something that they're uncomfortable with. Now, He might ask them to do that once they are a follower of Him, but we don't want them to feel forced to do something that they don't want to do. And so it's really important that we treat them with grace and forgiveness just like God would. And so I need you guys to sit in the pews with your kids. I need you to handle behavior problems as quietly as you can. And I need you to dance. And also there's going to be some fun games that are interactive, like where we have to make a loud noise or we have to raise our hands. So I really want you to participate, because if you participate, your kids will participate. This is so vital. If you're not going to participate, it will kill the energy of the room. So I really encourage you to participate. Now, say that you're sitting in the pew and the kid keeps kicking the thing, and you put his leg down, and then you scoot over and sit next to him, and he's still being disruptive and causing loads of problems. Well, what do you do when you have a behavior problem? You take them to the coffee shop. The coffee shop is where first aid and behavior problems are taken care of, and they're going to contact me from there. So if you have a huge problem, you're going to need to take a child to the coffee shop. But ministry safe-wise, you can never be alone with the child. So what do you do if you need to take a child to the coffee shop, but you've got your other kids who you can't leave alone? Because that's another thing. You can never leave your group of kids alone, and you can never be alone with the child. So what do? In the middle of the opening, it's not appropriate to take your whole class with you to the coffee shop. So this is when you lean on your other leaders in your grade. So you've got 4 or 5 leaders in your grade, and so you will find a leader who can go with you and then make sure that the other 2 leaders are there to keep all of the children. And so it's really important that you're never alone with the child. It's really important that children are never alone. And so that's a really great thing. Now, if you're at dinner and a child needs to go to the bathroom, you do not need to leave your whole group to take one child to the bathroom. And you can't do that because you can't be alone with a child going to the bathroom. And so it's really important that you guys take group bathroom breaks when possible, or at least take another child with you, at least 2 kids with you when you go. Never ever send children to the bathroom alone, even if they're together. Because we need to keep our eyes on our kids at all times. So that's really important. So back to the opening. After we leave the opening, then we move into rotations. A siren will sound whenever it's time to move to different rotations, and we have 3 rotations. We have recreation, craft and Bible app, which are 1 rotation, and then small group time, and that's where you guys come in a different way. You're in this whole time. So during rec time, you're going to take your kids out to the lawn, the grass lawn where we park on Sundays, and they're going to play a really fun, active game. There are leaders out there leading rec, but again, you've got to participate. If you are sitting on the sidelines with your arms crossed, you are showing those kids that God thinks what they do is childish and not cool. But if you participate, you're showing them that God loves what they love and He wants to be in on the fun. And so it's really important that you participate during rec, that you are available to do whatever the rec leaders need you to do. Same when you go into the craft room. You need to make sure that you are there helping, that you are with your kids. Stay with your kids the whole time, that you're helping them with their craft, that you're talking to them even if they don't need help, and be available if the craft leaders need you to do something specific. And then the next rotation time is small group time, and small group time is 20 minutes, and you will have 20 minutes with your kids to lead them through an application lesson. Now this is where the small group app, the Lead Small app comes in. Okay, so we've got our Lead Small app, and if you haven't downloaded it yet, you'll need to do that, and I sent you an email about how to do it, but if you're not sure, shoot me an email and I'll tell you. You see here, it's on my phone, right there it is with a gray box with a little orange squiggly circle in the middle. You'll click on that, that's a Lead Small app. Click on it, and here it is. Here it pops up. You've got this main screen. The top part is a little, like a little blurb from an article you can read about the age kids you're working with. This is where you find out how to get better at working with kids. And then you'll see on the bottom there are 4 different options, and so I'm going to show you those options and how they'll help you when you're leading small group. But before we get back to the app, I just want to tell you real quick what small group time is about. This is a time whenever you are going to show your kids how to apply what they learned in the opening to their real lives. You're going to ask them questions. You're going to open the Bible together. You're going to work on our memory verse. And so this is just a really important time where you can share about your life, and you can have them talk about how they can apply what they've learned to their own life. And so it's super, super important. It's a time where the relationships you've been building the whole week at KidFest are really going to come to fruition. And so that's really exciting, really important. And so during the rotations, when it gets to small group time, you're going to go to your small group room. Now this is tricky because we have 8 different small group rooms, because we're going to have 8 small groups going on in each rotation time. And so when you get here, you're going to get a KidFest name tag, and I don't have mine on right now, but in your name tag plastic piece, there's going to be your name on one side, your schedule on the back, and in between those 2 papers, you have to open up your name tag. In between those 2 papers is a little sheet of paper with your attendance, like I told you about earlier, where you're keeping your attendance. Well, on the top of that page, it tells you what room to go to. You'll either be room 104, 105, and then there's a bunch upstairs. There's also the parlor and the elevator lobby upstairs. We're actually going to have a group meet in the elevator lobby because there's tons of space, and it's a great space to meet. And so you'll need to find out on Sunday night, look at your name tag, find out where you're meeting, and make sure you know where that's at. If you don't know where it's at, ask for help, and we will direct you there. You can even ask one of your leaders who's also in the same grade as you. So you get to your small group room. What's the first thing you do? Sit down in a circle on the floor. I know this is tricky, but it's really important that you're sitting down in a circle on the floor so that everyone is looking at each other in the eye. Everyone can see everyone. It's all about community and a place to belong, and so that everyone is included. So make sure that everyone's sitting in a circle. Now, some of your small group rooms may have a couch in them, and I know it's tempting. I would want to sit on the couch too, but please sit on the floor and encourage your kids to do the same thing. And so you've got your kids sitting on the floor, and now it's time to start your small group lesson. Now, in your room, you're going to find a bag just like this. It's a big reusable TJ Maxx bag. And in this bag is everything you're going to need for small group. There's general supplies like Bibles, crayons, markers, anything you're going to need in there. And then there's also a tall Ziploc bag like this. And this tall Ziploc bag has everything you need for that night. So the TJ Maxx bag, the stuff in the bottom of it is general stuff you probably will need every night. But this Ziploc bag is what you need for that one night. And so you'll need to pay attention to the bags. They'll say, like for example, for Sunday, they'll say day 1, and then they'll have grades on there. So if it says kindergarten through 2nd, K through 2, and you're a 3rd grade group, put that bag back and reach in the bag and find the one that says 3rd through 5th. So that's really important. But in this bag is all the supplies you need for your small group lesson on Sunday night. Each night there will be a new Ziploc bag in there, but the TJ Maxx stuff will still be the same. So you'll look for this. Okay, so you've got your supplies. Now let's get your lessons. You're going to pull out your app. And remember, this is the front screen. And you're going to look, see we have 4 options here. You're going to click on the one that says this week. It's like a little thought bubble. Okay, so you clicked on this week, and now you've got these options. And you're going to click up here where it says guide. And that guide is actually step by step your lesson. Now at the top of it, and you can pull this up on your phone to see it better, and I know it's backwards, but at the top of it, it tells you a quick summary of what you're learning that night, what the Bible story was, what our bottom line was. Our bottom line's the one thing we want kids to know. So when they go home, their mom says, what did you learn? They can say, get ready for the good news. That's the bottom line, and they're going to hear it over and over at KidFest. Then it's our memory verse for the week, and then you scroll down, and the first activity is called a plug-in activity. And a plug-in activity is an activity to get kids talking and thinking and getting them involved. So it's not necessarily theological or biblical, just a way to get the kids talking. And so this one is actually a discussion question about what do you think it's like to be a shepherd. So you talk about these things. There's different questions to ask them. Now, what do you do during small group if your kid says something rude? Like, for example, it says, what do you think it's like being a shepherd? And someone says, ooh, they smell bad. And someone says, ew, Johnny, you smell. What do you do if someone does something like that? Well, it's really important that you don't just let that pass. If someone says something mean to someone else, you've really got to address it. Now, we don't want to necessarily call out the child who said something mean, but there are really great ways that you can redirect this. Now, for example, if someone says, ew, Johnny, you smell bad, you can smell the kid who said that and say, ew, you smell bad too. Or you can smell yourself. Ew, I smell bad too. It's a great way to redirect it and not call that child out, the child that said the wrong thing or the child is being made fun of. Because God wouldn't make fun of people, and God wouldn't make the kid who did something bad feel awful about himself. Now, he will convict us, but I don't think that he would be really mean to them, because we don't want our kids to think that God is mean. And remember, the way you act is what they're going to think about God. And so it's really important that we take care of those situations and address them. If you have an issue that you're not sure how to handle, bring them to the first aid station, the behavior station in the coffee shop, and we can help you with it. And so another thing that might come up is, like this first question says, do you think it's a job that people respect or think is cool? Well, they could raise their hand and say, what is respect? That's going to happen. They'll probably ask you questions. And you know what? If you know the definition of respect, tell them. But if you don't know what respect is, do not make something up. It is okay to say, I don't know. If you don't know something, say, I don't know. But then say, but I'm going to do my very best to try to figure it out. And then follow up and do your best to figure it out. So, for example, if you didn't know what respect was, and you could come to me or another leader in your age group and say, hey, what's respect mean? They could tell you, and then you could tell your kid. So it's okay to say, I don't know. Much better than to make up something. So definitely don't make up something. Now, what do you do during small group if someone raises their hands and says, my dog died, and then is sobbing because their dog died and is asking questions about, well, why did God let my dog die? If you don't know the answer, don't say anything. Don't make it up. But do tell them that you're not sure, but you will find out. You'll do your very best to find out for them. Now, if you're in the middle of a small group and someone does say something dramatic or sad or something that needs to be addressed, it is okay to address it. Don't feel like you have to get through your whole lesson. Actually, you probably won't get through your whole lesson. It's a lot of content for a little bit of time, and that's so that you have stuff available to do. And it's all intentional stuff. But don't feel like you have to get through it. If someone brings up something like, my grandma died, and they need to talk about it, or something rough that's happened in their life, or even if they talk about something that doesn't really apply, but it's really important, like maybe the way they're being bullied at school, and then you can start talking about why we shouldn't be bullies, do that. It's okay. This is about relationship, and so we're going to meet our kids where they're at. If they're struggling with bullies, we're going to talk about bullies, even if it has nothing to do with our lesson. So that's really important to know. But let's get back to our lesson. So say things are going well. Nothing about dead dogs or grandmas or what does respect mean. or stinky people. So the next thing after the discussion questions is the catch on, make the connection, and this is where the kids are going to apply what they've learned through a game. And so this is actually a red light, green light kind of game, and it tells you exactly how to play it and how it applies to our story. And like the location is Bethlehem because we're talking about the shepherds that night and baby Jesus. And then at the very bottom, you might see there it says what you say. This is where you help the kids figure out what that game we just played has to do with anything. And this is actually where you will say that bottom line again. Get ready to tell the good news. And so that's really important that you take care and you say that to your kids. But it doesn't have to be word for word. Definitely not word for word, but I would ask that you open your app up every night before you come to KidFest and that you're ready to lead that lesson. The more you can lead without looking at your app, the better. Because if you're taking time to read before you lead kids through things, you're going to lose them. So it's really important that you're prepared, and that's one of the really great things about the app. And then we got another activity called warm up where they do some cool sports poses. And then it tells you what you say, and again, you're saying that bottom line, get ready for the good news. And then we go down to a memory verse activity where you'll practice the memory verse. Here it tells you exactly how to do it. It's talking about leading the kids to find the memory verse in the Bible. So you're going to have to show the kids how to find the memory verse because a lot of them won't know how to use a Bible. And so you'll need to lead them through that. And this gives you some hints if you have more questions about how do I lead a kid through the Bible, especially a kid who can't read, because some of us will have kids who can't read, then ask and we'll help you. Ask the other leaders in your group. You can ask me, ask someone at the church will help you do that. But this goes again to being prepared. You need to make sure you know how to do that before you start your small group lesson. And here is our memory verse with motions. So you'll need to know those motions. So this has them ready to go. You can memorize them and practice them, and we'll learn it in the opening as well. And then you get down, and then lastly is our prayer activity. And so this is an activity where the kids will be using the supplies in this bag, and they're drawing a picture and drawing an X to it, something that's going to keep them from learning a lot this week. And so everything that you need is right here. All the supplies you need are in this bag. It tells you exactly what to do with them. It tells you when you need to use them. Now, if you get to an activity and it's like you can't really figure it out, or the kids aren't getting it, or they're not having a good time, it's okay to skip it. It's okay to change it. This isn't about quantity. You're not going to get a grade. It's not about completing everything completely. It's about quality. It's about doing what's best for our kids. And so if you're playing a game and it's really confusing and the kids aren't getting it, change it or don't play it. For example, the memory verse game that you're going to play this on Monday night has these different cards with the memory verse, and the kids are supposed to read it. Well, if you don't have a reading group, well, then you can help them read it. You can read it to them. I'll see on the bottom it says crab walk and skip, different things. Well, if that's too confusing for your group to do those different motions, do it all the same. Maybe everyone's crab walking, or everyone's bear crawling, or everyone's skipping. So make sure that you are looking at that lesson beforehand so you are prepared, because when you're prepared, then you're going to be able to adapt it and change it if it's not working. So that is the small group lesson in a nutshell, and that's how you lead it. Now, if you have questions, please ask me. Remember, it's not about getting it all right. It's not about having the answers. It's just about being relational and loving your kids and changing things up when you have to. So let's say you're in small group time, or you're at dinner, or maybe you're even at dismissal and you don't know what to talk to the kids about. You ran out of things to talk about. It happens. Well, that's where our app comes in. And so what you'll do is you'll click that back arrow and it will take you to the home screen. And then the back arrow, then the home little icon takes you to the home screen. Now, if you go to the bottom and you'll click on the circle that says big ideas, it will bring you to this screen. And now if you click right here on principles, that'll tell you how to be a good small group leader. And that's a great thing to look at, and I encourage you to do that. And then if you click right here on toolbox, this is a really cool screen. This screen will give you a spinner, like if you needed to guess, like if you wanted to pick up someone to be the first person in line, because the kids are all into that. Well, you could have them all pick a number and then click the spinner, and the spinner will choose a number for you. So it'd be fair. Then there's also at the top, there's a stopwatch that you can play for a game if you want to do a competition. And then there's icebreakers. So this is what you need to use if you're like, I don't know what to talk about. Use an icebreaker. These are really great things that you can use. Now, after small group time, the siren will go off and you're done with rec and you're done with craft. At 8:25, you go back to the gym and you sit at your dinner table and you wait for the registration ladies to call the kids to go home. But this is not time for you to sit around and twiddle your thumbs until the kids leave. This is relationship community building time. So you're talking to your kids, you're laughing with them, you're asking them about what they're going to do the next day. You might be playing an icebreaker. It's really important that that time during dismissal is not wasted. Every chance with our kids is an opportunity to show them how much we care about them, how much God cares about them. And then also, we have some kids that will need to be sitting in the center of the gym. So if they're a Spring Road Kid Fest volunteers child, they'll need to sit in the center of the floor in the gym, and then the other kids, our guests, are going to sit at their tables. Now, some leaders will need to sit in the middle with the kids, and some will stay at the table. So that might mean that you get separated from some of the kids in your small group, and that's okay. Just make sure that your small group is covered, if someone is watching them, and that you're watching the kids in the center, and you can build relationships with those kids in the center while you're there. And then after all the kids have gone, you're done, and you can go to the coffee shop, return your flag, return your small group leader bag, return your name tag, and you can go home, and we'll see you back the next night. Now, there are a couple other things on the app that I want to share with you. If you will click on this part that says My Few at the bottom, it's these three little guys. This is actually a place where you can put all of your kids' names and information in. So you'll see here that it gives me an option to add a member. So I'll add a member, and you see everything on here. It says what's their name, what's their birthday, what's their phone number, what's their address, what's their favorite candy, what's their favorite food, anything you can want to know about these kids. You can also take their picture by clicking on this little camera. There's all kinds of really great things you can do on here. And actually, if you click on this little P, if you go back to that screen where you add kids, if you click on that P, it'll let you enter a prayer request for them. And even there's an option to text parents or teenagers if you did a teenage small group, but we're not going to use that at Kid Fest. But there's all kinds of really great things on this app. If you click on the scoop part at the bottom, this is a bunch of different articles about the age group you're working with, and this is a great way to figure out, you know, how do I get better at this? What more can I know? And so I encourage you to explore the app. Make sure that you know how to use it before you come on Sunday. And there's one more thing you need to know about the app. Each night, your different lesson is on the app, but you've got to go in and manually change it to that lesson. So let me show you how to do that. At the very top of the app is a little gear. You're going to click on that gear, and it's going to bring up the screen. And you'll see where it says Spring Road Christian Church, and you'll click that drop-down arrow. And here is all the different classes at Kid Fest. We've got rec, we've got craft, we've got small group. So on small group day 1, you click on small group day 1. Now when it's Tuesday, things change a little bit. You're going to find the one that says small group day 2, but there are 2 small group days 2s. One for K2 and one for 3-5. So K2 is kindergarten through 2nd grade, and 3-5 is 3rd through 5th grade. So if you're a 4th grade leader, you click 3rd through 5th grade. If you're a 1st grade leader, you click kindergarten through 2nd. And so you need to make sure you click the one that's right for your group. And then when you go to guide, when you go to the this week part in the guide, it's going to take you to the current lesson. So make sure that you have it switched. If you need help with that, ask a kid to help you. Kids are really great with technology, or ask a leader. And also, what do you do if your phone dies, or you leave it at home, or something happens and you cannot access that Lead Small app? Well, in your TJ Maxx bag, in your room, you're going to find a binder. And this binder is going to have all of the lessons that you're going to need, one hard copy. So it's really important that you make sure that that this binder gets back in this bag, because there's really only one hard copy for every person who's using that room. So, but in this binder is a hard copy of those lessons that were in the Lead Small app as well. So I think that's basically it. One more really important thing is that when you're in small group time, leave your door open. Your door to your room has to be open at all times. It's a ministry safe way to make sure that people can peek in and make sure that you're never alone with the kids. And our security team will be patrolling the hallways. And so if you have an emergency or a behavior problem or something that you need help with, you can grab them out of the hallway and they can help you. So I think that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you for volunteering as a small group leader. I know that was a lot of information. Thank you for taking time to watch this. If you have questions, please don't be afraid to ask me or ask one of the leaders in your group. I'll see you guys on Sunday night.